4-play, he means $4.
Oh, hello. Have you heard of the recent debacle about Ebert saying that video games are not an art form? And if so, what's your opinion on them?
Yes, me or him?
I'm asking both of you.
Well, I mean, he's more the...
Well, do you know about it?
Yeah, totally. I just think it's a situation where I think honestly he has a point because and believe me I am like the most video gaming is art advocate in the world, but he does have a point because most games nowadays aren't anything special. They're just time wasters. They're just I'm sure everybody goes home and play. I do. I go home and play Gears of War, and that's obviously like a huge time waster. So nobody's really putting enough effort into making games as art forms, eliciting an emotional response out of people, making something that speaks to the human condition. He has a point.
And as a follow-up to that question, do you think he's referring to actual video games themselves or the thought process and conceptual designs that go into making a video game?
I think he's talking about both. In a way, when I say I think he has a point, I'm not saying that he's completely right. I'm just saying that from where he's standing, from what he sees, it's clear that he's, speaking from something that he obviously knows a little about it, but from what he sees, it seems right, and from what most people see, it seems right. So
from what I've read, it seems more like a deep-seated philosophical problem with him, that video games can't, by nature, be art.
Yeah.
So it's not just, because I'm more with him, I was like, you could put more effort into video games to elicit emotional response. Yeah. I'm sure that even with Ebert, that probably wouldn't sell it for him.
He came back and he said, I don't know enough about video games to completely say a statement, and that just it wipes the slate clean. It's like, you're right. You don't know enough about video games. You don't play them. Shut up. But it's something to think about.
And personally, I'm not a huge gamer. I'm actually semi on the with Ebert. I don't play that much. I play a little bit, but from what I've been seeing, certainly the way it looks, I think there's incredible art to it. Just the visual aspects and the worlds they create and the characters and stuff like that. I think it's getting to a point where it will be, and it with some games, I guess I'm not totally experienced, but I think it probably is. I think in a lot of ways, like Portal was on the right track with that. I think that can sort of be this really unique work of art about being trapped and making these holes and what you can do with this world. It's like you're trapped, but you're not trapped. There's a way out, but it leads back into and the story itself, where you don't always have all the answers. I think there is that was like a movie. That was literally this is almost like a 2001 experience. And I think, I don't know if games are there yet, but in my opinion, I think they're on the way.
I agree that they're definitely on the way. But as far as what Doug mentioned is people are always expecting games to be a movie or be like a movie or be like a book or tell a story. And that's really not what gaming is about. You can have kind of a backbone, a linear thing, but it's always going to hinder the video game aspect because video gaming is an art form, it's an interactive media. It's the sensation of interacting with something and getting a response. And that in and of itself should be the art that you're deriving from it. It shouldn't be the world or the story behind it. It should be that oh man, this experience that I just had, this conflict that I went through and this resolution that I did all on my own gave me an emotional response. And that's where I feel game as art should be.
You need to be in it to make a good game first more than a good movie. If you're in it to make a good movie, why aren't you just making a movie?
It's always been my point.
Sorry, we took a while on that.
Touché.
I totally agree is what I'm saying.
You're saying about video games bringing up an emotional response. Are there any games that you play that it really did maybe bring up something?
Everyone says Braid, but I don't feel like anybody even understands what they're talking about when they say that.
I made it all the way to the beginning.
What?
I made it all the way to the beginning.
What do you mean, Braid?
Yeah.
I would say the person that I think is closest to really understanding games as an art form is Jason Rohr. He made a game called Passage. Probably one or two of you in here has played that. It's basically just you're this guy, and it's this very, very narrow field. It's very archaic graphics, and you're walking towards, and there's kind of this blurry image ahead of you. And as you go forward, it reveals what's going on, but it kind of blurs the past. and it's all about like the passage of time, and eventually you can meet a woman, and you can choose to have her with you or not with you. And when she's with you, you get more points from treasures, but there's also stuff that you can't collect because you're too wide, and it's just this whole statement about like, you know, partnership, dying alone, yada yada yada. And the first time I ever played it, I literally like I started tearing up because it was so powerful. Just automatically, not even trying to be like, oh, what does this mean? You know, it was just the feeling of playing. It was so intense that it really elicits like a sense of like longing and sadness and nostalgia. And I suggest everybody play it. It's called Passage. Check that out.
Do you think that indie games have more of the artistic approach
Than the game community.
rather than the big companies? Well, he mentioned Portal.
Well, I think indie gamers definitely have a more innocent approach to it because big companies are looking to make big bucks out of it, whether or not they say they want to tell a good story or they want to. Like, I have a huge problem with Mass Effect. I think it's a terrible game because of everything that it tries to be and it isn't. And yeah, indie gamers definitely have like they just have that nostalgia factor. They have that like, okay, these are the games that I played as a kid. This is the stuff that makes me happy, and this is what I want to make. Whether or not I think more indie gamers are definitely trying to turn games into an art form, make them a respectable movie.
NC?
We here?
NC.
All right.
How's your critic?
I got a question for you. In your commentary of, in your DVD of Volume 1 of the Casper Chase, you said that your neighbors called you an idiot wearing a Ghostbusters outfit, running down the street and saying, Casper! You did a couple episodes of Ask That Guy with the Glasses where you just hold your gun replica down the street.
Scary
If it ever did happen, did any of your neighbors ever call the police if they ever saw a guy holding a gun over there? Even though it wasn't a real gun?
That was this, actually the funny thing is, I mean, we've moved since, but the neighbors across the street, you know, which I didn't know that well, but I mean, they would always they'd have like construction on their house and all these, like their driveway, which was fine, and they're getting it redone, and then they take like, one time they took a chair outside and this kid had a hammer, he's just hitting it with a hammer. I'm like, what are they doing? So one time, you know, and a lot of times they had to come out and just, hey, can you not hit the chair with a hammer? Because they're trying to film.
Well, we'll keep the chairs around.
Yeah, just, I mean, they're never like, oh, okay, sorry. Then, oh, okay. So and they've always been, you know, in the Alone in the Dark review, we had to film it downstairs because they were having construction and stuff like that.
There's certain tricks too, like when we would shoot outside. First off, I would hold the camera in plain sight, and I would even do like whenever I'd say, okay, Doug, do this, I would make it very clear I'm pointing, like I'm a director. This is film, this is fake, you know.
But the funny thing is that there was one shot where I did walk in front of their house. I didn't know if I think I saw the one that looking outside just when they went.
Wait with the gun. Hi.
So no, I surprisingly have not gotten many complaints on that.
Great.
Since